Hello, hello, everybody, and welcome to the next edition of STATURDAY Chat Live here on March 26, 2022. I hope you all are doing well wherever you happen to be in the world. It's a bit weird where I'm at right now, which I'll go into here in a second, but it is good to see you all. If you're new here, there's a couple of things to let you know how things are run on this live stream. The first and foremost is I want everyone to put in the chat where they're watching from. I always like knowing where everyone's watching from. Even those of you that are repeat viewers here on the live stream, I'd still like to know where you're all from, so please do that when you get a chance. Also keep in mind that I will do the very best I can to answer whatever questions you might have. They don't have to be about statistics or anything like that. This is a pretty informal kind of AMA open chat. I'll talk about anything within reason that you might want to talk about. And what we'll do is we'll answer those questions and share them. I'll put them up on screen so the other viewers can chime in, maybe put in their 2 cents of whatever question it might be. I can't always answer every question in real time. I'm not like a human encyclopedia or anything like that, but I do my best, and I do take down notes. So you can see here, I take notes on my little pad here, and what I try to do is get back to those if at all possible. If it's a very quick question that I can't answer, you can always reach out to me on LinkedIn. That is the best way to reach out to me, as via LinkedIn. If it's a long, sort of drawn out question, the chances are I probably can't get to that just because of time. But if it's a quick question, I do my best. But as you can imagine, I get many LinkedIn messages per day, and it's really hard to manage them all, but I do my best. So if I can't get to your question today, don't be offended or anything like that. I'll do my best maybe to circle back on another live stream or on LinkedIn or whatever else it might be. So what is going on with the channel and what else is going on in the world? Oh, before I get to that, I do want to put a little banner up here. So if you can, please consider, if you have a couple dollars or a few dollars, if you haven't already, consider donating to the fundraiser that's attached to this video. It is for the Save the Children Fund for the children of Ukraine. It's actually through another YouTuber that is having a fundraiser who unfortunately lost their infant son a week or two ago, and they're doing this fundraiser for the children of Ukraine in their son's honor who passed away. It's very sad. So if you have a couple dollars, the fundraiser link is there on YouTube. You can actually donate if just a few dollars or 10, or I've already donated. I would appreciate it. So thank you. All preemptive, thank you. All right, so what else we got going on in the channel? I am working on the next video. I started on it last evening, and I hope to get some more progress on it today and tomorrow, probably maybe more tomorrow than today, because I have many, many things to do this weekend. I'm sure you all do. And hopefully that next video will be out maybe next week, something along those lines, and then we'll be on from there. So I do the best I can to get videos out, but as you all know, probably this is not my full-time job. I have a full-time job, another part-time job, and then YouTube, so I'm pretty busy. Also in the spring, it's a busy time around the house, obviously. A lot of things to do outside to get ready for the summer months, and it's just a crazy time. So I'll do my best, all right? Oh, speaking of outside, this is not related to statistics at all or anything like that. So yesterday, where I'm at here in Ohio, we had thunder sleet. I'm not sure if you've ever experienced thunder sleet, but it was really, really weird. So I thought I would just very briefly share this weird thing with you, if I can find it. It's probably going to go over my face for a second, but here it is. So welcome to the weird world of weather and things like that. Thunder, sleet. All right, so, another thing about the channel. So I am working right now on securing a sponsor for some videos. It's not one of those weird sponsors, like, oh, here's the best deodorant, or here's like, this chair or something like that. It's actually related to the content and the mission of the channel. So I'm hoping to announce that here in the next week or two or something like that. As you can imagine, doing a long-term sponsorship takes a lot of planning and stuff like that, but I'm hoping it's something that will benefit you. And I will mention that more as we go, but it's looking like that is that is ready to roll. And of course, that will free up some time for me to do more videos because I have to kind of focus on what pays the bills, to be quite honest with you. So I'm looking forward to announcing that and having some guests on related to that and doing maybe some giveaways with that. And we have a whole thing planned. So stick around for more information about that sponsorship. All right. So who do we got here in the channel? All right. So who do we got? We have... Okay, so from China, live in Germany. Oh, gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. From live in Germany. Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate that. All right. Pinaki, I hope I'm saying that correctly. From India, from Kolkata. Thank you so much for stopping by. Again, I do apologize if I mispronounce names. It's not intentional. I do the very best I can, and everyone deserves to have their name pronounced correctly. And if I mess it up, I do apologize. You can correct me in the chat. I'll do the best I can. All right. Kofo, hello. Thank you for stopping by the live stream. Glad to have you here. Thank you. Lewis from Maryland, thank you for stopping by the channel. It's good to have you. I like seeing everyone here. And Sarah from Spain, hello. It's good to see you, Sarah. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you very much. And we have from Saravin from Manchester. Hope to make it over to the UK at some point. It's one of my favorite places I've never been to. And I just want to kind of drive around the whole island and visit. Of course, as you know, India is also one of the places I'm dying to get to sometime in the next few years, hopefully, to see a beautiful country and beautiful people who have supported me on this channel and in other ways for many, many years now. And I hope to come visit India and give my thanks to everyone there and just see a different part of the world, of course. So fingers crossed when everything's somewhat back to normal. Hope to do a little traveling and see some of you in your home countries. Spain, yep. Sarah, I'd love to go to Spain too. There's so many beautiful places in Spain. I want to go everywhere, as you might see. All right. Pronounce it perfect. Thank you. Thank you. I did okay. Grammar and stuff is not my strongest subject. I was always math and science, as you might imagine. So if I do it right, I do appreciate that. Okay. Let's see here. So I'm going to put this question up here. I'm not sure when I can necessarily answer, in real time or anything like that, because I'm not exactly sure exactly what we're asking here. But how are you? Doing well. Thank you very much, Maruthi. I have a doubt. We can perform regression using ordinary least squares and partialing out the FWL theorem approach. However, both our results are the same. Then why do we need partialing out approach? So let me look up something here. Because sometimes everyone, so that's related to econometrics. I'd have to look more sort of into that. That's the Frisch-Wald-Lovell theorem. I would have to look more into that. So unfortunately, that's one of those questions that I can't answer in real time on a stream like this. I am not an econometrics, so we'll have to do some more research, unfortunately. So thank you for the question, and I will do my best maybe to look more into that in the future. On that note, one of the topics I'm looking at doing more videos on is time series, and especially that gets into econometrics and regression and stuff like that. So forecasting, things along those lines. There are many, many topics I like to make videos on. It's just a matter of time, but time series, going more into depth in a time series, is one of those ones that I am looking forward to going into, and I will definitely look into this. So yeah, so Murthy, sorry about that, but I did write it down on my little pad here. So I wrote it down here. And I can look more into that. I'm always looking to learn new things. Obviously that's why I do this. That's why I have the channel. And part of the fun of doing a channel like this is that you all bring up things that I haven't experienced or been exposed to or something like that. And then I go on a little, wild search and wild treasure hunt to go learn more about them. And yeah, so that's just one of those things that I'll look into. Let's see here. Let's see. Da-da-da-da. All right. How do we find the minimum of 2 random variables? Is there a way we can find it out quickly during exams? Panaki, I have to know more about the specific type of problem that you are referring to. So finding the minimum of 2 random variables, what do you mean by finding the minimum is just the minimum? Is there a certain situation that you're thinking about applying this in beyond obviously an exam, of course? So do you mean like some sort of minimum, like in sort of a gradient situation, or what? Can you maybe elaborate on that? If not, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Maybe I can elaborate a bit more, or answer, more in depth. Okay. Okay. All right. So, Kofo asks, can you explain correlation and multiple regression? I've watched your video, but I still need help. So my videos maybe not be very good. I really don't understand how to translate my data. So we can briefly go over these, but I'm not sure I can add more beyond what my videos say. If the video has a gap in it in terms of knowledge, please let me know and I can maybe fill it in here or on a different video or something like that. So, very quickly, correlation is obviously the linear relationship between 2 random variables, so that it's a standardized measure. So correlation goes between -1 and 1. So 1 would be a perfect correlation. So for every unit increase in the X variable, there would be a 1 unit increase in the Y variable. That would be perfect sort of correlation. So correlation is just a measure of the linear relationship between 2 continuous variables. You can do it other ways too, but 2 continuous variables. All right. So that is how basic correlation. That's basic correlation. How that works in multiple regression is very similar. So multiple regression is just an extension of a linear relationship between variables, in this case, sets of variables. What makes multiple regression tricky in terms of just looking at what we call bivariate situations where we have an independent and a dependent variable, what makes multiple regression tricky is that as soon as you start adding more variables in it, instead of it being a 2-dimensional visual that's easy to sort of look at and see, we start going into higher dimensions. So when we go into a 3-dimensional sort of situation, we have an X, a Y, and a Z. In that sort of instance, what we're going to have, Kofo, is actually like a plane in a 3-dimensional space. So imagine taking, a cube or an ice cube and then just slicing it in some way, like just with a knife, just slicing it. We have a plane. So there, the correlation isn't a 2-dimensional line, it's a 3-dimensional plane. And then as you add more variables, it gets really hard, it gets really abstract to visualize. But the basic concepts are the same, in that we're looking for the relationship between our independent variables and our dependent variable, but it's in multi-dimensional sort of space. And once you get beyond 2 independent variables, it gets really hard to visualize. So I think what you just need to think about in terms of a multiple regression application is understanding how much each variable contributes to the variation in that dependent variable. And that can get into variable selection procedures, where variable 1 accounts for the most variation, and then variable 3 accounts for the next most variation, and so on and so forth. So I have many videos about obviously multiple regression, but also I would encourage you, Kofo, to go in and watch, if you haven't already, the videos on variable selection. So let me see if I can show you where that's at. So if I go to playlists, okay, 1 second here. I have all kinds of weird videos in here. Okay, so model building right here. So down, you can't really see that probably. Let me pull this up. So Kofa, what I would do, if you haven't already, is go through this playlist number 20 on model building. And what that does is it goes through the way we select variables in a multiple regression situation based on the amount of variation each variable contributes to that dependent variable. And it all goes back, and everyone on this stream that does this sort of thing is to simplify this in your brain, okay? And that's the fact that all we're doing in multiple regression, you know, the typical, multiple regression that we learn, we're taking the total sum of squares, so the total sum of squares, and then partitioning it basically into first two buckets. We have the total sum of squares that gets partitioned into the sum of squares that is explained by the regression equation. And then we have what's left over, the sum of squares due to error, the SSE. Then in the sum of squares, that's part of the regression bucket, we then allocate that or partition that into each variable that's in the model. So there's a way to select variables in a sequence. That's what the model building playlist is about, where this variable sort of gobbles up the most variation, and then the next variable gobbles up the next, and then there becomes a point where adding additional variables doesn't really do anything for us. We get into overfitting, and then we stop. So Kofu, if you have not watched the model building playlist, that goes into more advanced things in multiple regression. It has output that you can look at and interpret, and really explains what's going on under the hood when we have variables in the model related to the regression sum of squares and then the total sum of squares. And it's very deliberate. You know, I go into, pretty good detail, but as you know, I do it slowly and I explain everything as best I can. And you'll probably learn a lot just by going through this. So I would recommend doing playlist 20 if you have not already. And that will help go into more in-depth ideas in multiple regression and what's actually going on under the hood. Okay? So I hope that helps. And I'm not sure if you watched this playlist, but this can really, really help going into that. And if you get one of these videos and it doesn't apply to what you're doing specifically, then just go to the next one. So in this instance here, I don't know if I can make this a bit bigger. There we go. So in this playlist over here, you might want to go to video 5 here and start there. So start at video 5 and go from there. And that will really help explain what's going on under the hood of multiple regression. So playlist 20, video 5 is where I'd start. And that will actually help you understand how the sum of squares is being partitioned into various things. Okay? All right. Okay, get my screens back here. You can see I have a face for radio, as the saying goes. So here it is. It's much bigger now. All right. Just looking through your comments here. If you haven't already, please let me know where you're watching from. I love knowing where people watch from. If you came into the chat live stream a little bit late, I will also just put this back up. If you have a couple of dollars, please consider contributing to the fundraiser that's part of this video. It's for the children of Ukraine. So if you, for Save the Children, if you have $5 or $10, it doesn't go to me at all. It goes to the cause, of course. If you can, please consider doing so. All right. All right, so I'm going through the chats here. Okay. Trying to one I can maybe answer quickly or off the top of my head. Okay. Some of them are really complicated. It's hard to really answer. I'll have to go back and explore them a bit further. Okay. So, Sarah, is there a minimum number of data points where correlation becomes significant? I have 9 data points. I saw your video that 30 data points is a good number, and above that is essentially the same. Well, thinking of significance and the number of data points are actually two different things. They're related, but they're not directly related, and let me explain what that means. If I have 6 data points and they're perfectly linear correlated, they're basically drawn with a linear function, like y equals, basically y equals mx plus b, right? If I were to plot that on a plot, even if it's only 6 points, that correlation would be a perfect 1. Okay, it would be exactly 1. That is going to be statistically significant, right? Now, the way the sample size goes in, and if I could, I would pull up like the formula for correlation and we could actually dissect it. Maybe this is a video idea. The difference is, I'm actually writing this down. Okay. The difference here is that as you increase the number of observations in a sample, once you increase the number of observations in a sample, in the grand scheme of things, the standard error decreases. The margin of error, the standard error decreases. So it depends on it depends on the data, depends on the relationship between those two variables, the way the scatter plot is shaped in relation to the best fit line, and how far each data point is away from each line. I've seen many data scatter plots that, by looking at them, you would say there's no like real linear relationship there, not very strong one, and then you go ahead and run the correlation, and the correlation comes back significant because there are so many data points. So these things are related, but they're not, and they influence each other, but they're not directly related. It's much more important to ask, what is the relationship between each data point and the best fit line? This is in some ways a regression question too, right? So, a bivariate regression where we have one independent variable, one dependent variable, just a simple graph, that's a correlation. If you look at the R squared, then you're related to the correlation. They're the same thing. So you take the square root, but the basic rule is the same. If you think about correlation as a regression, then this question makes a bit more sense. So that was a very, very long explanation, Sarah Van. I'm sorry to sit there on blab and stuff like that. But the basic idea is that while data points and significant correlations are related, they're not a direct relationship. There's more going on in there, and it really relates to how each data point, it's based on how each data point relates to the best fit line, regardless of how many data points there might be. So, good question though. Yeah, and the thing you asked about in the go up here in the previous comment, the 30 data points here, is that is a vestige of a time when statistics did not have computers really to work with. It was all done honestly by hand or very rudimentary sort of devices. The whole beauty of statistics, in my view, is that we can make inferences and predictions from relatively small sample sizes. And the way it works is that if you look at a normal distribution and the student's distribution, the t-distribution, and I've done videos about this, is that as the sample size increases, the benefit of adding more data points becomes less and less, because the t-distribution and the normal distribution basically converge. The benefit of having 30 data points for like a small statistical study or something like that, or more, is that what I said before, actually, on the previous question, is that it reduces the standard error. So oftentimes the sample size is in the denominator. So as that denominator gets larger, the fraction becomes smaller, right? And therefore the standard error, all else being equal, the standard error decreases. So if you look at the benefit of kind of knowing a basic way how the formulas work, is you can see, and everyone watching this live stream, I fully recommend taking a basic look at some of these formulas, because then you can understand that if this variable in the formula increases or decreases, it has this effect on the overall value. You know, so if standard error is sigma over square root of n, well, as n increases, the square root of n is going to get bigger, okay? And therefore, if a number above stays the same and the number below gets bigger, that fraction gets smaller, or that number gets smaller. That's the value of understanding how the formulas work, so you know how the change in this affects the overall thing, okay? All right. Thank you. You are very welcome. Just to reiterate, COFO, if you want to learn more about what's going on under the hood in multiple regression, and everyone else that's watching here, playlist 20 is a great place to start. The first part of that just talks about the general linear model, which all this is sort of based on. And then video 5 onward talks about model building techniques, so forward, backward, best subsets and stuff like that, but also partial correlation. So partial correlation and semi-partial correlation is very important to understand if you want to understand under the hood what's going on in these multiple regression sort of models and why certain variables make it in, certain variables don't make it in. They're all very visual. You can probably see maybe this one right here. Lots of Venn diagrams I put in there so you can kind of see how the variance overlaps. So definitely look at that, okay? If you want to know more about what's going on under the hood in these situations. Okay. What else we got going on here? Great chat. Thank you all for coming by. All right. So, first here. So, Do-Yon Chok from Birmingham, Alabama. Welcome. Went through Birmingham a couple years ago on my way to New Orleans, so it's good to see. I think I went through Birmingham. Maybe it wasn't. I know I went through Alabama, obviously. Anyway, thank you for coming by. You asked, question is about the interpretation of z-scores in multiple linear regression. For example, if there are two, I think, you said t values. Okay. So you're looking at the t value. Let's see here. Go back up to your question. Interpretation of t values in multiple linear regression. For example, if there are two t values from two different variables and one is higher than the other. So one thing that complicates this question can be I would encourage, well, you can look at the t value, of course, but the thing to look at is the p value. So what is the p value for that variable? Okay. So what you want to look at instead of the t value is the p value, and of course they are related. I'd have to go back, and I know it's a sum of squares fraction, or mean square sort of fraction. That's the F statistic. I'd have to go back and look at the actual formula in there, but the t values in multiple linear regression are not really sort of what we look at. I want to go in and also see how the different variable scales and types might affect the t value. So I would encourage you to look at the p value for the variables in lieu of the t value. So remember, a t statistic works just like the t-statistic for comparing to like two populations or whatever else. So obviously a larger t-value would tend to indicate that that variable is more significant in the model than one with a lower t-value. Okay, so look at the t-value, but also look at the p-value to determine the significance of an individual variable in the regression output, because that is really what what we look at and what is reported usually in the literature or whatever else that we're doing. Okay, but yes, a t-value, is a critical value. In general, the further they are from 0, the more significant they are. Okay. I have to catch up to you all. Okay. I have to catch up to everybody. All right. Watching from Albuquerque, New Mexico, SW. Thanks for coming by. Sorry, I'm a bit behind on the chat here. All right. Watching from Nepal, country of Mount Everest. Oh, I'd love to go to Nepal. You have no idea. I would love to go. I obviously want to go to India, but I love mountains and I like going to the beach and the ocean and stuff like that. I'm really like a mountain sort of person. I would love to go there. But thank you for stopping by, Santosh. I hope you are doing very well. Glenn, what's up, buddy? Hope you're doing well. It's good to see you back again. Do I have a video on gradient descent? No, at least not yet. But I do have a cool video idea that I want to do. I've actually, several years ago, I did like a prototype of that video, and I didn't make the video, Glenn, but what I did is I put together like the PowerPoint and the Excel file I was using. I really liked how it turned out, but I never went ahead and make the video because it didn't fit in any of the playlists I was doing at the time. It would have been like this weird video that was out there by itself. But I do have a video in mind that I've already working on. So I'm trying to understand how it is used, a deep learning algorithm for finding best fit. Here's my simple answer, Glenn, and it is a very simple answer because this is obviously more complicated. So gradient descent, as you probably already know, is an optimization algorithm, right? So trying to find local minima or global minima, however you're sort of trying to figure it out. But the general idea here for the gradient descent algorithm is finding that minimum because it optimizes the explanatory power of the algorithm. Believe it or not, simple linear regression is based on the same concept. And multiple regression is based on the same concept. So if I'm looking at just a bivariate simple linear regression, what am I trying to do? I am trying to minimize the error sum of squares. Whenever you hear that phrase, trying to minimize the error sum of squares, you are talking about an optimization algorithm. So they're not exactly the same thing, but in some ways they are. There are ways to solve linear regression problems using linear programming. Just basic linear programming. So all this is trying to do is optimize and reduce the error. It's the same basic idea. Okay. Now I could go in, I would have to really put a train of thought together and really put a video together that I was talking about earlier. But it's really a way of just optimizing and squeezing all of the explanatory power out of a model. Another way you can think of gradient descent is walking outside, maybe in the park or backyard or somewhere else. And after it rains, where are all the puddles? Well, the puddles out in the street after it rains, that's a local minimum, right? That's where the water settles because it's lower there. And obviously the global minimum is the ocean in the long-term sort of thing. So it's all about optimizing the algorithms, trying to squeeze out as much error as possible, and finding the best values for certain parameters that do that. And I really hope to make the video that I had in mind a couple years ago because it's really cool and it really kind of shows what's going on here. I will say, I will completely admit that I am not a machine learning or deep learning expert by any stretch of the imagination. I read a lot about it and I study it a lot and everything, but obviously there are many more people that are better versed in those sorts of things. I will freely admit when my knowledge is a bit limited. But yeah, so just think about it as an optimization problem, because that's really what it is. Okay. Saravan, thank you. You are very, very welcome. Welcome, Boris. Hello. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by the live stream. It's good to see you. Yep. Welcome to the Deep South. Yeah. There's certain parts of the South I really enjoy, and there are certain parts they're not my sort of cup of tea, but I like going to New Orleans, one of my favorite cities. I love New Orleans. Been there twice. I hope to go back sometime soon. Parts of Georgia I really like. So that's the Atlantic coast of Georgia. Really nice. All right. Okay, a different type of question. Is online post-graduation degree valid? So, Dwarpayan, I hope I'm saying that right. Are you talking about an online like graduate degree or talking about an online certificate or some other sort of program? Or is the fact that it's online the question about it being valid? So I'm going to assume that it's about the onlineness of it, that you're questioning the validity of it. So I will say things are different now. Obviously, in the COVID era and the increase in availability of technology, that the perceived value of an online degree versus an in-person sort of degree, the distance between those two has shrunk because we've all gotten used to working in virtual settings and environments. It's obviously much more flexible, especially for individuals who maybe are halfway around the world, who maybe work full-time jobs or have children or whatever else. The online situation is just much more convenient. Obviously, I am a example of that, right? So you can sit and watch the videos anytime you want. And that's what the beauty of online is. So I think maybe the perception versus in-person versus online was that the gap was wider a few years ago. But I think over the past 3-4 years or so, especially because of COVID, that gap has shrunk. And depending on the program, depending on its accreditation, its reputation, then the onlineness tends to matter less now than maybe it did 5 years ago or so, or maybe even more from that. So I think it's more, whether the degree is online or in person, I think it's much more important to research and vet that institution to make sure that institution is seen. I'm not talking about, it doesn't have to be like MIT or something like that. It doesn't have to be Princeton or something. As long as that program, that school is well regarded, the program has a good reputation, it is accredited, and things of that nature, I think that's the most important thing. And as you all probably know, a lot of businesses and government agencies and so forth are no longer requiring even a 4-year degree for some positions. So if that's the case, then whether your degree is online or not matters less even more, right? So I think the most important thing is just do your research, make sure it's a good program or a good certificate program that is valued, and then go with that. Also, you can look at what other people are doing. So if other individuals, are part of that program and have successful career and track histories, then that's probably a good program. And I would focus on that. Okay. Yeah, so if the p-values are significant, then we're completely changing lanes back and forth. Sorry, but that's how the chat goes. Detroit, shout outs to the Indiana women's basketball team who plays today. It's going to be a tough game, but they are doing great. So I do support the Indiana women's team in addition to the men's, of course. So go Hoosiers. So if the p-values are all significant, then they're all significant. And we really don't. That's the thing too. This is one of those fundamental things in statistics. Either the variable is statistically significant or it's not. It's a binary judgment. So if a p-value is 0.4 and another one has a p-value of 0.1, we don't say the other one is 4 times as significant. Doesn't work that way. We just say if the p-value is below this, it's significant. The end. Okay? Now, that's in sort of a typical output regression. Now, of course, you can go into the numbers and talk about how the sum of squares is allocated and which variable explains the most variance and stuff like that. But whether or not a variable is significant or not is just a binary choice. Then, after that, we can go and look at how the sum of squares is partitioned and kind of see which variable takes up the most variation in the dependent variable. Okay. All right. All right. How are we doing? 40. Okay, we're doing good. Thank you. You are very, very welcome. Pinaki, please reach out to me, probably on LinkedIn if you're on there, or if you go to my website, you can email me there. So I'm going to do this. So you can see. Yes, I am typing. Give me 1 second for it to pull up here. I'm going to do this while we're here so everyone can see everything. So, a couple of things. If you go to my website here, it's just a basic table of contents for all of my playlists. So if you are looking to watch them in sequence at an easier way to navigate them, this is the place to go. YouTube is not very good about organizing content into something like this. I don't know why. It seems like a very simple thing to do. But this is a place you can go to it'll take you right to each playlist. You can just go boom, 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 watch them all the way through. Obviously, while I'm here, if you want to donate, to my little PayPal tip jar, this is the place to do it. That obviously helps the channel. So you can donate a few bucks there. But if you go to this contact me here, this live stream question form here, what you can do is just put in your info and then message me and it'll send your question to me. So if I can't answer a question here, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, or you can also put it into this sort of form, and that'll email me your question, and maybe I can address it then. Okay, so this is another way to reach me, of course. Also remember, while I have the website up, if you are some of you in the past have asked about getting the slides and stuff like that. Just a reminder that for my not every playlist, but the most popular playlists by far, I do have video companion guides you can purchase. It's like $20 for the entire playlist. So this one right here on regression, it is literally everything in that playlist for $20. It's like 600 or 700 pages. It's the PowerPoint note slides. It's also the transcript. It's also, if I can find the next page here. So you get a thumbnail or the image of the slide. You get the timestamp and the link to where this starts in that particular video. So if I were to click on this, I'm not going to because I'm on a live stream, but if you go to this link, it'll start on this slide, and here is the transcript. And that's for everything. Okay, that's for everything. And you have places you can also take notes alongside. So, and that's like I said, it's the entire playlist for $20. The one for regression is literally like 600 pages. And that's a way for me to provide that content to you because a lot of people ask for them. It's also a way for me to support the channel financially. So if having this for $20, if $20 is too much, unfortunately I can't really help you beyond that. You know, it's a $20 investment in yourself. But I do have those there if you want them. While I was on the website. So yeah, go to the website, there's stuff there. It's very basic. I don't do anything else really on that website except put the playlists on there and the PDFs and so on and so forth. So, but back to the point here, Panaki, if you want to, you can put that question in this message, and I can maybe address it at a different time. Okay. All right. Let me go back here to this. Where are we at? I've lost my place in the comments. Let me go back through here. Yep, Glenn. I saw gradient descent as an extension of multiple linear regression. Yes, exactly. It is. You know, and the thing is, once you learn sort of what these things are in the very basic way, then you can extend that into more advanced type things conceptually. So once you really understand that at the heart of linear regression, just a bivariate linear regression is a optimization algorithm, basically. It's the minimization of the error sum of squares. Then everything beyond that is an extension of that simple concept. Okay? The only difference is you start working in multiple dimensions. So obviously if we have two variables and we're working in 3 dimensions, and instead of having, you know, a straight sort of line situation, we have a plane situation, and the graph is like, you know, there's a technical name for it, but it's like a 3-dimensional bell shape, right? And what we're trying to do is either maximize the regression sum of squares, which is the opposite of minimizing the error sum of squares, and it's all based on the same thing. Okay. All right. Vendang, hello, Mr. Foltz. Hello, Vendang. It's good to see you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate it. Benedictus, thanks for your videos. I got my A in finance and data statistics course. Awesome. Awesome. Everybody give Benedictus a congrats in the chat, please. This is hard stuff. So congrats to Benedictus. A little thumbs up if you wouldn't mind. I had a background in biology, so before your videos, these 2 courses in my MBA were challenging for me. Excellent. Excellent. So I'm glad that the channel was there to help you, you know, along your journey, Benedictus, but in reality, you did the hard work, not me. So for every person like you who goes out and find the resources they need and takes the time to watch the videos and take notes and really learn what they need to learn, there are dozens, if not hundreds of others who don't make that effort. And the fact that you made the effort makes all the difference. So congrats to you for making the effort, for going out and watching the videos and putting in the time. You know, it's a lot of this stuff isn't all that difficult. You just have to sit down and, pardon my French, you just have to sit down and hammer this shit out. It's just a lot of it's just work and time. And we all have to make the decision whether or not it's worth it, if we want it bad enough, you know? And without getting on a soapbox or anything like that, even I have to face this. I've had to face this in my own life, right? You know, many of you know I lost a bunch of weight over the past few years. I lost 75 pounds. And I had to make the choice of whether or not I wanted to be in the physical condition I was and get to enjoy all the chips and pizza and stuff like that I used to eat all the time, and, you know, gallons of wine and stuff like that I used to enjoy all the time, or give that up so I can be healthier, I can lose the weight, look better, feel better, you know, have more energy. It was just a choice. Just a choice. And not all of us have the same set of choices to choose from, you know? I mean, I'm a very privileged person in many ways, but I still had to make the choice. And, you know, that's my little speech and spiel. Benedictus about being the person that makes the choice to go out and put in the effort. And there are no guarantees that the effort will pay off 100%, but since we're all statisticians and data scientists here, it definitely increases the probability, right? Increases the odds that you'll be successful. Sometimes it's just putting in the work, and that's why sometimes I get pissed when people say, "Oh, the videos are too long," or "You're going too slow," or whatever else. Well, they don't know what other people's learning styles are. And what is this, the Matrix, where you can plug in a thing in the back of your head and download it into your brain? It doesn't work that way. You have to work through it. We all have to work through it. Okay. So self-righteous spiel over. I'm sorry I had to put you through that, but the difference is here, you just, Benedictus, you went in and put in the effort and hammered it out. And that makes all the difference in the world. So congratulations to you. Yes. Woot. Well done, Benedictus. Absolutely. Seraphim, thumbs up to you. Excellent. All right. Hello, Brandon. I'm planning to learn SQL, as somehow it is very much in all of data science. Yes, it is. Can you please help me know the SQL learning and what can follow after going through a book tutorial? So, obviously the best way to learn something is just to do it. How an individual wants to learn is really up to that person. Some people like to read books. Some people like to go in and just, play, whether it's an SQL or Tableau or Python or whatever. Some people like to go in and just play. Some people like to do both. Some people like online courses that you can find on Udemy, or you can find in Coursera or somewhere else, or YouTube. So it's really up to your learning style how to do it. Some people like to take notes. So what I would recommend doing is just, regardless of the source of learning, what research tells us is that the best way to learn and retain information is a cyclical process of learning, applying, and then evaluating, and then reflecting. So you learn something, you practice it, you evaluate your skill in that, and then after you evaluate your skill in that, you reflect. Then you start over and over. That's the best way to learn and retain information. The medium by which you do that is up to you, however you learn best. So, Udemy courses and other similar things, and even some YouTube courses are great, because some of them, even on YouTube, like me, some of them provide files you can download and practice with. So you can try those sort of situations, but make sure you have all of those steps in there. Learn, practice, evaluate, reflect, start over. Learn, practice, evaluate, reflect, start over. And then as you get more complex, as you get into higher levels, you keep that process, even as it becomes harder. You always cycle in that process. Always, always, always. And if you're someone like me, I will consult various ways of learning something. So I might read a book, then I might do a course, then I might go in and practice, then I might go back to a book, then I might do some practice while I read a book. Then I might make up my own problems. If you get to the point where you're making up your own problems, you're in really good shape. So it's really up to you how best you want to learn that. Okay. All right. So Arvind, hope I'm saying that correctly. Welcome to the live stream. If this is your first time here. Let's see, does economics knowledge is needed for finance data scientist or analyst role? Yes, 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 yes. So this is another soapbox I can get on. Too many people nowadays focus on the coding aspects or the math aspects or whatever else, the data aspects, but don't get the bigger picture. So if you watch previous live streams, I hammer into everyone's mind the necessity to understand the discipline, the subject area that you are working in, even if you are a buried, even if you're buried in code all day or whatever else, get a broader grasp of the discipline you are working in. So if you're working in finance, I don't have it with me. I'm sure where I put them, all my other books. If you're working in finance, read nonfiction books on finance. Smartest Guys in the Room, Too Big to Fail, Pigs at the Trough. What are some other ones? What's the one about R.J. Reynolds that's really good? I can't remember the name of the title. So yes, read books in your wider discipline. Also, make sure you just simple things like read the paper if you have access to it. Read, if you're in finance, read the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times if you have access, which if you're part of an institution, you can probably get for free. Read Yahoo News, read Google Finance, CNBC, watch CNBC, whatever else. Get a grasp for the field you're working in on a large scale, in addition to the nuts and bolts coding or mathematical work that you're doing. So to be a finance data scientist or analyst, should you understand economics in the broadest sense? Absolutely. 100%. If you want to be good at it, if you want to be valued. Because here's the thing. If if a person buries their head in code or stuff like that, I hate to say this in a way, but in the long run, that person's easier to replace than someone who understands the field they're in and understands the value of things, how the levers work. If I push this lever, what happens over here? If this happens over here, what happens over here? What are the historical trends? What are the historical precedents? What are historical examples of these phenomenon? That person is invaluable. Invaluable. So in addition to the other stuff, understand the field and the discipline from multiple sources. And that makes you a valuable person in your field, not just not just the tasks that you're doing. So you all are putting me on my speech form today. I'm sorry. But this stuff is important. All right. All right. Here we go here. Andreas, hi there and good evening. And everyone, congrats to Benedictus. Andreas joining from Sweden, another place I like to go to at some point. So yeah, I would love to go to Sweden. So I want to go to Stockholm really bad. But thank you for coming by. All right. Lewis, I agree. Love it. The patient and steady pace you go through the videos. It helps those who need time to process it to retain it. Absolutely. It's really, everybody wants to do everything quickly, especially nowadays where we're so used to instant gratification and having everything immediately available at our fingertips. Everything, whether it's learning, just our schooling and education, we expect things to happen so rapidly. We want things now. Now. And of course, many businesses take advantage of that and charge us for that convenience. But real, deep, true learning is different from education. Learning something you can do pretty quickly. Educating yourself on something takes a long time. It can take a lifetime. And actually, it's like a journey you never really get to. It's a process. There is no end point to education. It never ends. You can learn this or learn that, but education is a lifelong process that you take with you to your grave. And if that is the joy, then that's what you should do. But we want instant gratification in learning. We want instant gratification in terms of, the return we get on our investments in time and resources and stuff like that. We want immediate gratification in many ways in friendships and relationships and everything else. We just have gotten used to this instant gratification, and real education, educating yourself, just takes time. Your brain has to stew on things. It has to think. There are things I learned about in grad school 10 years ago, in the moment, that just now make sense. It just takes time, So I wish we could all do everything, but the joy is also, for me, the joy is also in the struggle of educating myself. Like I find things I don't understand just completely rapturously interesting. Just interesting. And I love just diving I got a book I'm starting right now today, actually, probably. It's a cold day here in Cincinnati. It's literally snowing outside. I'm going to sit in my chair right behind this little fake screen here, and I'm going to just dive into a book and just sip my coffee or whatever else and just immerse myself and spend the joy, the time, and learning something. So that's just how we have to view it, We can't educate ourselves instantly. It doesn't work that way at all. All right. Thanks a lot for helping me. I'll follow your advice. My advice is just one voice. There are many voices on this topic. I'm not saying mine is the best. I'm saying this is, in my 45 years of living, almost 46 years of living, this is, that's, almost all of which has been just completely immersed in education. I fell in love with education while I was in preschool, in elementary school. I fell in love with it. And it's been my life ever since. So a lifetime of being in and around education has just taught me that these sorts of things just take time to really educate yourself. You can learn something quickly, but educating yourself takes time. So, but we only have so much time, so we have to be judicious on how we spend that time. Okay. All right. Glenn, you only give that speech like that because you care about the student having a good perspective. True. I want all of you to be successful. I want all of you to have that life that you want, and a big part of that life that you want is probably your education. Of course, your career, stems from that, but it's also just being happy, just being joyful. And for me, the learning things is just a joyful moment. I love it, obviously, as you all know. So, but my goal is just, hopefully your life is going to be a long, long journey. And you live a long, happy, healthy life. And somewhere along that long journey, my channel or this live stream or me or whatever is just some little, I call it like a little bridge, on this long journey, up Mount Everest or wherever you want to go. And the metaphor I use is like a little stream, and you have to cross that stream. And you're like, man, I need to know how to build a bridge to get across this stream. So, I'm going to go to Brandon's channel and learn how to build that bridge to get me across the stream and on my way. That's what my channel is. It's just a way to get you along your way, across little obstacles so you can get on with your life and be happy and live a long, successful, joyous, happy life. So that's it. It just comes down to that. It's nothing more complicated than that. And that's what I try to do, the best I can. So, all right. So we've been going for about an hour here. If you have any last minute questions or comments, now is the time to drop them in the chat, because I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up here in a few minutes. I have many, many things to do today and this weekend, as I'm sure you do. I don't want to waste your time. So while I'm waiting for any last minute comments or questions, I just do want to reiterate for the final time, if you have a few dollars, please consider donating to the fundraiser that's attached to this YouTube live stream. It is on YouTube. It's a fundraiser for Save the Children, for the children in Ukraine. It doesn't go to me or anything like that. You can just click on that little fundraiser. I've already done it. And every little bit counts. So you might not think $5 means a lot, but what does $5 mean to you if you're starving? It means everything. So if you have a couple bucks, feel free to drop that in the fundraiser. All right. Okay. So I don't see really any other comments or questions coming in. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of wrap this up. So just a reminder, hopefully a new video dropping here in the next week or so. I'm working on it as we speak. I'm going to keep chugging away at that in addition to the other 5 million other things that I'm working on, so I can get that out to you. I am going to announce, hopefully in the next few weeks, a sponsorship for the channel that will benefit you all, in addition to helping the channel out. So it's not something weird. Like I said, it's not like, oh, here's the newest toilet paper, or, oh, look, here's this, new wallet, or, fancy new ruler. It's a sponsorship that actually is meaningful to the channel. I'm very, 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 very picky about any sort of sponsorship things I do on the channel. So this is one of those I've agreed to do. So, and what else am I? Oh, we'll be back in 2 weeks, barring anything weird happening. So that would be Saturday, April 9th is 2 weeks from today. So we'll be back live. We'll be back then. So Vincent says, thank you, Brandon. You are very welcome, Vincent. Use your stuff to complement my MA Econometrics class. Excellent. Very, very glad. Tan May, I recently joined your channel, so what should I look for? Tan May, you can look on the channel for whatever you want to learn. Whatever you want to learn, my friend. So if you we go back here, pull this up. So if you go to the channel here, you can go to search the channel, type in like regression, whatever you want to learn, and it will pull up all the videos, whatever you want to learn. So, or at least I am very excited. This video, this regression video, I don't do it for the glory or anything like that, but this is going to be a 2 million view video, which I would, if you told me I was ever going to do a video that got 1 million views, much less 2 million, I would have told you you're crazy. But this is going to do it, and I have you all to thank. So if you want to learn something specific on the channel, just go to little search, and you can search in there, of course. Then, of course, playlists. You can see the playlists in here. So these are all in here as well. The popular ones, but you can see all of them sort of in here. This will also tell you how many videos are in the playlist. So obviously this one has 12, this one has 17 videos, and so on and so forth. They are all in here. You can also find the playlists in like a format, Tan May, on my little website here. It has all the playlists in like a table of content, like you might see in a textbook, and you can reach them that way. I need to update this actually because I have new playlists to put in here. But you can bookmark this and go to that topic that way as well. So many ways to find content in terms of whatever it is you might or might not be looking for. But the search thing here is actually the best way, or this table of contents here on my website. Okay, go back here. A couple other things come in, then we will wrap this up. Yeah, helps my students remember some concepts that underlie stuff they see. Absolutely, absolutely. This is a good question. Hi from New York City. Do you have any videos about the survey methodology and statistics? So about survey methodology specifically, no, but tangentially, like through the videos, the content of the videos, you pick up some of that. On that note, the game mathematics, one of the playlists I'm going to start probably working on and planning out is a design of experiments playlist. So I'm just trying to figure out the scope of it right now. Honestly, is the hard part, is figuring out what concepts I want to cover in that DOE playlist. If I want to talk, about, if I want to talk about sort of traditional research concepts in addition to what we think of design of experiments, there's a lot there. Do I want to get into validity? Do I want to get into research designs, so on and so forth? So right now, when it comes into methodology videos, especially research methodology and design of experiments, I don't have any specifically on that at this present moment, but it is definitely something I am planning to do, and I am sort of storyboarding out as we speak. No timetable on that, but as you might guess, I have, if I could do this full time and make videos for y'all full time and actually be able to afford to live, I would, but unfortunately, that's not how YouTube works for these types of channels. You only really make money on YouTube if you're like doing, like celebrity videos and like, you know, um, doing product reviews and gags, like, I'm not going to say the person's name, but, let's, let's fill my friend's house full of mayonnaise. Like that's what gets like millions of views and earns people millions of dollars, not this type of stuff. So I'd make the videos as much as I can based on whatever time. So this specific topic I'll get to eventually. All right. Thank you. You are very welcome. So Fabio, we're going to do any videos about propensity score matching analysis. I did not have that on my list, but as you all see, I have my little notepad here. I'm going to write this down and look more into it. Okay. It's on my notepad, so I can actually put it in there. So, oh yeah, see, that's me right there. Just don't dream, inspire. Just don't create. Don't imagine, create. Just don't believe, achieve. So there's that little quote there. All right, so I think I'm going to wrap this up. But it was a great having you all here for this live stream. We've been doing live stream for about a year now. It's almost a year. I have to go back and look when it started. So when we hit that year milestone, we might do something special. And I hope to have some guests on over the next couple of months. I'm working on that as we speak. Listening to me blab on for over an hour is probably the most enjoyable thing, and I do apologize. So I hope to have some guests on, as we go into this year. Some of that will be related to the sponsorship. Hopefully I have starting. Some of that will be not related to that, but I hope to have some guests on because actually the chat is actually doing very well. The live stream is doing very well. So more about that later, but I'm going to get on with the rest of my day and let you all get on with the rest of your day, which is some of you almost Sunday. Some of you, I'm sure here in the U.S. or around the U.S. are starting your Saturday morning as well. So I hope you have a great day, and it has been a pleasure speaking with you all this Saturday, and I wish you all a happy and healthy next couple of weeks. Thanks again for coming. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.